I'm going to switch to English now because Peter is English speaking, although his home country is, I have to say, Czech Republic. And he is actually a real star in Czech Republic. He's running conferences like this, I don't know, 8 times a year or so. He's running leadership programs, he's running workshops. He's the host of the second most successful podcast in Czech Republic, and that already makes him extremely unlikable because he's so successful it's almost terrible. But it's even worse. He wrote a book that sold 300,000 times, and it was translated into 17 languages, and it is about a topic that nobody here actually cares about because he promises to tell you how to end procrastination, which of course nobody here needs, because I mean, who procrastinates nowadays? No one. So, I want to say a warm welcome to Peter, who's already ready to start. Welcome.
So, hi, and tell me, who procrastinates? Right? You see that procrastination is quite a usual thing, and it's getting worse and worse. We have distractions everywhere, social media. We are often overloaded by emails, by so many priorities. And I think that to know how to fight procrastination is a key skill for 21st century, right? And I will tell you some tips and tools how to decrease your procrastination on a daily basis. Because there's a lot of science, there are amazing research on Stanford, Harvard universities, but there is a huge gap between what science knows and what people do in their lives. So I want to just transfer the key knowledge to you today and give you some practical tips. Procrastination is often about postponing things to the very last moment. And we often think that under pressure, we perform better. No, it's not true. Negative emotions and stress hormone cortisol decrease our creativity and our productivity. So really, the best way how to think about procrastination is that procrastination is something bad. And if you decrease it, you will have much more time for meaningful activities, your private life, your priorities in your business life, and so on. So to fight procrastination is quite crucial. And I spent last 10 years of my life fighting procrastination. I'm telling that I'm procrastination expert because I'm procrastinating all my life, but now I'm helping people to decrease procrastination. And my book, The End of Procrastination, as it was mentioned, has 17 translations. So even Japanese translation. So I had a book launch in Tokyo, and I was teaching Japanese not to procrastinate. That was the highest achievement in my life. And so try to think, like, what is the key reason why we procrastinate so much these days? Why? Well, it seems that it is complexity. We live in a very complex world, but we have the same brain that people 2,000-3,000 years ago had. So in ancient Rome, they had the same brain as we have, but if you look around, well, surroundings is a little bit different, society is a little bit different, and we are often overloaded by complexity. And our ancestors, they thought that with choices, with freedom, comes happiness, but that's not truth. This is the most scary picture in my presentation, and it's called decision paralysis. It's sad, not funny. Because we are overloaded in many, many domains. We are overloaded, as I said, by emails, by priorities, and often we are overloaded in our private life too. If we do shopping, we are standing in front of 30 kinds of ketchups, and we are not happy that we are able to choose out of 30. We feel a little anxious that we are unable to choose at all. And we experience this almost every day. And what is the solution of complexity? It is simplicity. Basically, fighting procrastination is about deploying minimalism. To have 3 priorities and accomplish them is much better than have 30 and accomplish nothing. So we all want to live a fulfilled life. We want to live life full of purpose, meaning. But there is a gap of procrastination And it seems that like 40% of our time, and sometimes the studies shows that almost 40 hours weekly is wasted there. So a lot of our potential is really wasted. And it's sad because that time that is lost forever. So it's about to live a little bit more conscious and to find a way how to save that time, because our life is finite. And if we waste 40% of our time, that's not a wisest idea. So what is the key? If I do interviews, journalists always ask me, like, can you summarize your book in one sentence? That's the thing you want to hear if you spend a few years of your life writing a book. But I was trying to find the answer, like, what is the one-sentence summary of my 10 years' work. And I found one Japanese proverb. I love Japanese culture. Last 6 years, I spent 1 month every year in Japan. And you can find some very useful tips in old Japanese mythology. And this proverb follows like this. Vision without action is a daydream, and action without vision is a nightmare. And this simple proverb simply describes two main problems we all have. First part, vision without action. We know what to do, right? We set New Year's resolutions, we want to start running, but at the end, we sit on a chair and do nothing. And if there is a little cloud, we think like, okay, it can rain, I will go tomorrow, and tomorrow never happened. But what is even worse is the second part of the proverb, action without vision. We have a lot of scientific data that lack of purpose at work is one of the main reasons of growth of depression in Western world. Because if you are working on a project and you don't see any positive impact of that, if you don't see a purpose, meaning, then you have much higher risk of depression. So that's the second part. Action without vision is a real nightmare. And if you want to fight procrastination, basically you need those two ingredients. You need to know your vision, you need to know purpose of your work, and then you need an action. You need to know how to push yourself to start things. You need to know how to set up new habits, how to get rid of the bad ones. And those two key ingredients together form happiness. So, if you were wondering what is the key of long-term happiness, according to science, long-term happiness is about live every day meaningfully and to the fullest. So without procrastination, and doing things that are important to us, doing things not just for ourselves, but for others. Trying to improve society a bit, trying to think about how to be a good part of the whole. And I want to discuss those two ingredients together. And by the way, at the end, you all get my book. I brought like 250 books for you for free. Woo! But at the end, so yeah, you have to wait. I have like 2 more hours, so no. So let me discuss the first part, vision. Why vision is so important? Well, as I mentioned, it is very important to think about time. Our time is the most valuable resource we all have. Because we were born in one moment, and the destiny we all share is that life will end somewhere in the future. And the time between those two events is both limited and finite. So to ask yourself what to do with that time, that's the life vision. And we have a lot of data that if you know your life purpose, if you know purpose at work, you are much more motivated, you have more intrinsic motivation, you are able to overcome failures much easier, and so on. So this is the key question of life, right? So sometimes I'm telling that there are 2 important events in our life. The one where we're born, and the second, when we find why. So why is a key question of life. And sometimes we recognize that when it's too late. I experienced twice in my life a situation that is called near-death experience. First was a medical situation when I was 18 years old, and the second was my flight from Amsterdam to Prague. And after the takeoff, after like 15 minutes, our right engine blew up, and there was fire. Fun. You don't want to experience that in the airplane, because it was quite scary. That was our road. We started in Amsterdam, and somewhere on the border with Germany, Germany, the engine blew up. And in that moment, I was thinking, like, should I wear my jacket or not? So I put it out, so that was better. And then those 15 minutes were the longest 15 minutes in my life. And I was thinking, like, about those key questions of life, like, if I survive, what I should do differently. And when we landed, it was one of the best moments in my life. So if you can buy such a workshop, it can help you even more than my presentation. Because sometimes to face your own death helps you to understand how important is life, how important is our time. And since then, I don't want to waste my time by procrastination. So sometimes it's very important to understand that life is finite, and ask yourself how to live every day meaningfully to the fullest. And one important part of purpose in life is purpose at work. We see that if you are disconnected, I live in New York, I live in Manhattan, and you feel that a lot of people in Wall Street, they are very disconnected. They are working on projects, but they don't see any positive impact of that. And I think that there was a movement, happiness at work. But happiness is just the outcome. You cannot fix happiness by buying foosball tables in workspace. What is much more important is purpose at work, because if you have a purpose, if you have a purpose-driven organization, then people feel happiness as a reward, as an outcome of doing something meaningful. And there is a beautiful Japanese word. I hope that you know already what is ikigai. It's from Japanese island of Okinawa. Okinawa is famous for the fact that they have the longest average lifespan in the world. They live 10 years longer than we live in the Western world. 10 healthy and happy years. So what is the key? They made a long-term research, almost 10 years, and the outcome was ikigai. And basically, ikigai can be translated as a strong sense of purpose. In Okinawa, they don't retire, and they are trying to be useful for society, even if they are 80, 90 years old. And I spent some time in Okinawa, and it was a beautiful experience, because they are doing things even if they are old and they are never left behind elderly. And Japanese, they describe ikigai as a combination of 4 domains. First domain, strengths are important. So knowing your strengths is quite crucial, and doing things that you are good at is the first part of ikigai. The second part of ikigai is the psychological state of flow, doing things that you like to do. Positive emotions are important. But the third part is maybe the most important, because it's about meaning. Doing things that the world needs. Doing things that can improve the world a bit somewhere, improve the society, doing things for others, not for just ourselves. And of course, the last part, money. Money is important, but not that much. And I do a lot of one-on-one trainings, consulting, and like 80% of my clients, they have some struggles, not with money, but with some of those 3 other parts. So all those 4 domains forms ikigai, and we have quite strong evidence that having ikigai leads to longer life, happier life, and life without procrastination, because if you find your ikigai, then you don't procrastinate your ikigai, because you enjoy what you are doing. So this is just the key summary of the first chapter. You have a Japanese concept of ikigai, and ask yourself how you can find it, how you can improve those 4 domains, and how you can be better in all of those. The second part is action, how to find willpower, how to find the way how to push ourselves. And we are very bad in that. Sometimes we know what to do, but we do something very different. And we have to understand the human brain. Yeah, human brain is a very useful tool, right? Not for everyone, but for some of us, it's truth. But we have some old parts that really influence our behavior. Daniel Kahneman got a Nobel Prize from economy in 2002, and he found that we are very irrational. Our decision-making is based not in logic, but in emotions. So understand that we have very strong emotional brain is the main reason why we procrastinate. So if I just describe human brain can be divided into three sections. The oldest one is reptilian brain. This part of the brain is all about instinct. This is the part of the brain that no one of you can commit suicide by stopping breathing. You can try it after my presentation, that it is impossible. Then we have a limbic brain. That's the part of the brain that is all about emotions. And then the youngest part of the brain, few hundred thousand years, the rational one, neocortex. And if you cut the brain in the middle, what you see is that there are much more connections from emotional brain to the rational one than backwards. So basically, our emotions drives our behavior. Our emotions are the core of our decision-making. So we do a decision based on our emotion, and we only use our rational brain to rationalize the decision afterwards. And you can describe this as a metaphor of elephant and a rider. There is only one group of people that don't procrastinate. You know whom? Psychopaths. They don't have emotional brain, so they have an easier life. There's only 1% of psychopaths in normal society, so few of you. But the rest, we have emotional brain, and you can imagine the emotional brain as an old elephant. The limbic system is very old, very strong, but then we have the rider. That is our rational brain. That is much weaker, but smarter. He knows what to do. He knows that we want to eat healthy, that our rider knows that we want to exercise more. But in the moment of decisions, elephant is much stronger. So understand that you have those two independent creatures in yourself is crucial to understand why you procrastinate. You don't procrastinate. Your elephant does. Good news. Yeah, your elephant wants to have another beer. It wants to check Instagram, and so on and so on. So all addictions are about elephants. Rider knows what to do, but knowing how to tame the elephant is a crucial thing for fighting procrastination. In science, they call it self-regulation. And there was a huge meta-analysis, a research. They took all research on procrastination and made a research on it. And the outcome was that the main reason of procrastination is lack of self-regulation, is our inability to tame the elephant. So how to be better in riding your elephants? Well, another Japanese word, kaizen. Kaizen means that all samurais, they train themselves with the small steps, but daily. And we cannot change ourselves from day to another. If you want to change everything, we often fail. It undermines our self-confidence, and at the end, we are in an even worse situation. But if we do small steps, if you want to start running, and if you tell yourself to run just 500 meters, you have much higher chance that you survive. Or you can wear some sport wear, go outside, and go back again. There's always a smaller step. And if you repeat those small steps, in science they call it micro-habits. So what is important is just doing small steps, but repeat it. Then, with small steps, you can achieve big things. So that's the Kaizen way. So basically, you need to understand two Japanese words, ikigai for vision and Kaizen for action. And I have one crucial practical tool that is called a habit list. Habit list is a simple table, and you set your habits that you want to train, you want to set up. And then you set the minimum level. What is very important is not to threaten your elephant. So always remember, start with small steps. This is a real habit list of one of my clients. The first column of the habit list is to fill in the habit list itself. Then you can set a habit of waking up with the first alarm clock, for example, or before some exact hour. Then exercise, or you can have some bad habit that you want to get rid of. And the last column is potential of the day. You rate the day on a scale 1 to 10. So this client decided to wake up before 7:30, run 500 feet, drink 2 glasses of wine, maximum, not minimum. And the first day, he woke up, he ran, he didn't drink that much. The next day was also quite good. But then there was a party. Yeah, he drank a liter of wine. He didn't wake up, no running, and so on. I guess that you already understand the key idea. You get the visual feedback. If you accomplish the habit, you get a green dot. If you don't, you get a red dot. So it's a visual feedback, and it really helps you to understand where you are and what you should improve. And if it's red, you can always decrease the amount. So if you have a problem to run 500 feet, you can run 100 feet. It's always better to decrease it and then continue. So this is a crucial tool from my book, and I have a lot of stories that this tool changed a lot of lives. So who wants to try habit list? Tell me. Better world, right? And the last tool we call everyday heroism. Why heroism? The word heroism is often about big things, right? To stop next to an accident and save someone's lives. But it's quite important to use this word even for small things. I learned this tool from Mr. Professor Philip Zimbardo. He's a famous American psychologist, and he conducted the famous Stanford Prison experiment. Very controversial experiment. But then he, as a Stanford professor of psychology, conducted many other research. And one of his key research was on heroism. Why sometimes people stop next to accident and save someone's life. And when I met Zimbardo, I met him 3 times in my life, I asked him, hey, professor, what is your key secret how to fight procrastination? And I love one of his quotes. He said, the core of your life can be reduced to 2 types of actions, those taken and those not taken. And I really love this quote because sometimes it's about just do it. And I asked him, like, how to do that, like how to push yourself. And he did something a little bit strange. He grabbed my black marker and he put a big black dot on his forehead. And I was thinking, like, what? He's a professor, 8 years old. No, he's starting to explain me that sometimes we need to push ourselves outside of our comfort zones, both physical one and both social ones. So it's about stepping outside of the crowd, being a little bit punk, being able to be different, be able to have a black dot on a forehead and go shopping with that. And the key outcome of his research was that heroism is not something inborn. Heroism is something that we can learn during time. And it's all about comfort zone. We all have comfort zones. You can imagine physical one, the warm bed in the morning, or the social one, that you are part of the crowd, part of the herd. And outside the comfort zone, there is the discomfort zone. There's the moment we stop next to accident and help someone. There's the moment we stand up for our opinion and have the courage to disagree with someone, and so on. And according to his research, the definition of heroism is an ability to step outside of our comfort zone and to act. And then we are happier, because happiness is just the outcome, and happiness lies outside of our comfort zone. There are a lot of people that think that happiness is inside the comfort zone, but that's not truth. It's beautifully described in this simple quote. Overcoming fear is the first step to success. And Japanese samurais, they had a brilliant tool for that. They call it 3 heartbeat rules. If you have a chance to do some little heroic act, like really help someone, you should do that in 3 heartbeats, in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and then act. Because it really decreases the chance that you find excuse why not to. And I want to tell you, like, the people that procrastinate the most are very smart people and very creative people. But they are smart and creative with coming up with excuses in front of themselves. So if you procrastinate a lot, good news, you are smart and creative. But sometimes we use our brains against ourselves. So let me summarize the whole talk. Now you know that you need those 2 ingredients to fight procrastination and to find happiness, long-term happiness in life. And for vision, you have a tool that is called Ikigai. And the tool is from Japanese island of Okinawa. And if you find your Ikigai, you live approximately 10 years longer. Cool. And then for action, you have 2 tools. You have a habit list, the list for habits. And what science shows us that you can really improve your willpower in the long term. So willpower works like a muscle. So every day you use habit list, your willpower increase. And the last tool is the everyday heroism. Sometimes we need courage to change our behavior, to just do something. And remember that whenever you are in such a situation, remember that Japanese 3 heartbeat rule. 3, 2, 1, and then act. And I think that this is just the beginning of change of your life, because if you deploy those 3 simple tools, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, you really can decrease your procrastination. But don't procrastinate fighting procrastination. Use those tools. And I have a last story. I have this picture in my presentation for, 8, 9 years. And this year, I found a place. And the next day, I climbed Mount Fuji. It took me 9 hours and a half. And when I reached the top, that was one of the best days in my life. Because I had a vision to find a place, and then I performed the action. And I really and strongly believe that it works like that. Our brain is embedded in that way that if we want to be happy, we have to do something. And we have to do something that is meaningful for us. And at the end, I want to ask you one question. If you want to grab just one idea from my today's talk, what it would be? What is the key message for you? And please note it down, because we are forgetting. So now you have 1-2 minutes to note down the main message of my presentation. And if you want to do something, if you want to visit Japan and climb Mount Fuji, you can set one goal that you won't procrastinate. And do it now, please. And if you are ready, you can share the key idea with everyone else. So tell me some key ideas. Come on. Anyone? Yes? Heroism. Elephant. Thank you so much.
That happiness lies out of your comfort zone.
Thank you so much. One more? Here. Oh, and please wait for Mike.
It's overcoming fears is an act of heroism and the first step to success.
Thank you so much. So now you can get one copy of my book, and you can follow me on social media. I'm fighting procrastination there too. And I wish you to have better lives without procrastination. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
So much, Peter. Thanks. They get the book when they get out, I will tell them.